"She is a thief! Look at her neck!" The voice screamed through the royal chapel, but it was not a human voice. It sounded like 1,000 ghosts crying out at once. At the altar, the beautiful bride dressed in silk and gold clutched her throat, her eyes bulging with terror. The prince stepped back, dropping the wedding ring. This was the moment that changed everything, but to understand the horror, we must go back to the beginning. In a village where the sun always kissed the green hills, lived 2 sisters, Amina and Zola. Amina was kind, with eyes that sparkled like the river, but her greatest treasure was her voice. When Amina sang, the elders forgot their pains and the crying bobbies fell into a deep, sweet sleep. Her voice was not just a sound, it was a blessing from the ancestors. Zola, the older sister, was different. Her heart was like a dry well, deep and empty. She looked at Amina's beauty and heard her songs, and every day, a bitter seed of jealousy grew larger in her soul. One morning, a royal messenger arrived on a white horse. He carried a message that set the village on fire with excitement. The great prince was looking for a bride. He did not care about land or cows. He wanted a wife who could sing the song of the heart during the festival of the moon. The woman with the most beautiful voice would wear the crown of the kingdom. Amina was happy, thinking only of the music, but Zola was filled with rage. She knew that as long as Amina could sing, no one would ever look at her. That night, under a sliver of a moon, Zola walked into the dark forest. The trees seemed to whisper her name, and the owls watched her with glowing eyes. She reached a hut made of bones and mud. This was the home of the night witch. "I want her voice," Zola whispered, her voice trembling. "I want the prince, and I want my sister to be silent forever." The night witch laughed, a sound like breaking sticks. She reached into a bubbling pot and pulled out a small glass bottle. Inside was a swirling purple liquid that looked like a trapped storm. "This is the breath of silence," the witch said. "Give it to her and her voice will become yours. But remember, a stolen gift never rests quietly." Zola did not care about warnings. She hurried home and waited. The next morning, as the sun began to rise, she brought Amina a bowl of fresh fruit juice. "Drink this, little sister," Zola said with a fake smile. "It will make your throat strong for the prince." Amina, who loved her sister dearly, took the bowl and drank every drop. Suddenly, Amina's eyes went wide. She tried to say thank you, but her lips only moved in silence. She clutched her neck, feeling as if a cold hand was squeezing her throat. She tried to scream, but only tiny, shimmering bubbles came out of her mouth. She was mute. At that very moment, Zola felt a strange heat in her own chest. She opened her mouth and let out a hum. It was the most beautiful sound she had ever heard. It was Amina's voice, trapped inside Zola's body. Amina wept, her tears falling silently on the dusty ground. She tried to tell her mother what happened, but she could not make a sound. Zola simply laughed and began to practice her new songs. She put on her finest beads and painted her skin with bright oils. When the day of the competition arrived, the sisters traveled to the palace. The prince sat on a high throne. Many girls sang, but he looked bored. Then Zola stepped forward. She opened her mouth and the voice of Amina flowed out like liquid gold. The prince stood up, tears in his eyes. He had never heard anything so heavenly. He pointed to Zola and declared, "This is my queen. The wedding shall be tonight." Amina was pushed to the back of the crowd. She tried to reach the prince, but the guards pushed her away. She was just a silent girl to them now. As the sun set, the palace was decorated with thousands of candles. Zola stood at the altar, looking like a goddess. But as she stood there, the purple potion in her blood began to turn cold. The stolen voice was waking up, and it was angry. The prince smiled and said, "My love, sing the song of love for our guests." Zola opened her mouth, expecting to hear the sweet melody, but the magic broke. The golden mist around her throat turned into a dark, bruised purple. The music changed from a soft flute to a heavy, thundering drum. The voice began to sing, but the words were not about love. The voice sang, "Oh, Prince of the Sun, heart of the brave, I bring you the love that your spirit did crave. My heart is a garden, my soul is a light, I give you my song in the middle of night." Then the voice turned sharp and piercing. "But listen closely to the breath in my chest. This is a stolen heart, put to the test. I drank the darkness from a witch's bowl to trap my sister and swallow her soul." Zola tried to cover her mouth, but her hands were frozen by her sides. The voice grew louder, shaking the very walls of the palace. "The voice you hear is not my own. On a bed of lies, I built my throne. I left her weeping, silent and cold, for a crown of silver and a ring of gold. Look at her neck. See the stain. Every note is my sister's pain." The prince gasped as he saw a black, vine-like mark growing around Zola's neck. It looked like a serpent wrapping around her throat. The crowd screamed in fear. At that moment, a bright light shot out of Zola's mouth like a shooting star. It flew across the room and landed directly in the chest of Amina, who was standing by the door. Amina felt the warmth return to her heart. She opened her mouth and let out a long, beautiful note that cleared the dark mist from the room. The prince looked at Amina and saw the truth. He looked at Zola, who was now standing completely silent, her face twisted in a permanent mask of greed. The black mark on her neck would never fade. She had lost her sister's voice, and she had lost her own voice too. The prince ordered the guards to take Zola away to the Silent Mountains, where she would never be heard from again. He then took Amina's hand and asked her to sing the real song of their people. Amina sang, and for the first time, the song belonged only to her. She became a queen who always listened to those who had no voice, and the kingdom lived in peace for many years. If you believe that what is stolen will always find its way back home, subscribe to this channel for more powerful stories. Who do you think was more evil? The sister who took the voice or the witch who gave her the potion? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.